Hello, greetings from Northumberland. It's Tuesday the 17th of November, and it's a dark morning before dawn here in Northumberland, although it's a still morning outside. Who will rid me of this troublesome priest? Those words attributed to Henry II began the series of events that led to the murder of Thomas à Becket in Canterbury Cathedral, and then the king's public repentance of the fact that he was directly or indirectly responsible for the murder of his archbishop, because the archbishop challenged the king. And as a result of that, Henry set out on a public penance. And one of the things he did was to found monasteries. And that led Hugh, who later became Hugh of Lincoln, to come to the United Kingdom. Hugh had been born in France, had entered a monastic community, and finally had become a member of the Carthusian order. And Henry, as a penance for the death of Thomas à Becket, wanted to set up a Carthusian order in England. And Hugh was recognised as being the sort of top-notch leader. He came, but before he came, he negotiated, because the founding of a monastery meant the displacement of people, of a village, of people's livings, and he argued very powerfully that those people who were displaced by the new monastery should be adequately compensated. And then he came in about 1175 to live and to form this new monastery. It didn't end there, though, because later on he became and was appointed Bishop of Lincoln. Lincoln was at that time by far the largest diocese in the English Church, spanning an area, most of the centre of the United Kingdom, of England. And he became the bishop, dividing his time between time in his monastic community and time in his diocese, and when he wasn't in his diocese, making sure he appointed very able people to run it from day to day. But his forthrightness, his honesty, his determination continued. And he was prepared to challenge the king. Not only Henry II, but Richard II afterwards, and also King John. There was always a tension between church and state. And Hugh was always willing to stand up for the church. But that involves sometimes standing up for the people against the king. It's a classic example of a bishop meddling in politics, because that was what he saw his role as being, as standing alongside those in power and offering a critique, being loyal to the king, but also being able to challenge the king, to challenge the heart of political power on the way it operated. And that's an important message for us to hear, particularly as Anglicans, because we are an established church. We are part of the framework of church and state in our country. And we sometimes forget that. But that brings with it a responsibility that people sometimes don't understand. They say, oh, bishops shouldn't interfere in politics, but that's precisely one of their roles. One of the roles of bishops within the establishment is to challenge that establishment. Those of us who are school governors are often reminded that our role is to be a critical friend, to support the school, but also to ask questions so that the school operates better. The bishops have this role writ large within the constitution of the country. They are people who have taken an oath of allegiance to the Queen, but they are also called to be critical friends, so that government may do the best possible thing. I'm sure there are many prime ministers who have thought, who will rid me of this troublesome priest? But it is, of course, the role of the church to be like the grain of sand in the oyster, the bit of grit that produces the pearl, to be the one who asks the questions so that the answers more reflect the life and love of God. May God bless us, may God bless the church in this role.